Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
And welcome to Season 2, Episode 12.
Or Episode 34 if you're counting.
What's happening in the world of Josh?
I have my own world?
What are you doing?
Well, you just informed me I have my own world.
Can you tell me what you've been doing within said world?
What have I been doing in said world? I've been trying to level up my Pokemon in Pokemon Y, but the more I think about it, it's somewhat related, but this just gets on my nerves. They announced this new Kamen Rider game for the 3DS, right?
Uh-huh.
But I can't play it now.
Well, you couldn't play it before. What are you complaining about?
Well, no, because the last games that they released, for the PSP and for the 2DS...
No,
not the 2DS. For the regular DS, I'm sorry. Those weren't region locked, so I could play those, and I did. And I very much enjoyed those games. Now this new one, I can't play it.
Is it 3DS only?
Yes.
It's not also for PSP?
No, unfortunately it's not.
Alright.
That sucks. And then they've also got this Attack on Titan game coming out too, and that's 3DS only.
Well, we're just gonna have to do what we said before and get a Japanese region 2DS.
Yes.
That's just the way it goes. See, I mean, are you happy you have a 2DS or not?
No, I am happy to have a 2DS. I am. I'm just not as happy that I can't play the games I want to on said 2DS.
Well, that's a problem everybody has, and then they have to fork over twice as much money because they want to play the other region's games.
But that's stupid. They should have just left it not, region locked.
Well, admittedly, yeah, this is the first time that Nintendo has published a handheld that had region locking. I mean, I actually don't think that it's the console itself that region locks, but rather the games.
Look,
I don't really know how that works.
Look, all I'm saying is I want to be able to transform, and I want to be able to use 3D maneuver gear. Is that so much to ask?
No, you just have to cough up more money to do it. Because you're not fortunate to be born in glorious Nippon.
Fine.
That's all on you. Alright? If you really want to play some other region...
Hey, there's some other stuff you want to play too.
Yeah,
there's a Dragon Quest or two, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Most of which aren't necessarily, handhelds. Really, I want to play Dragon Quest X. Which also reminds me that just a few days ago, the Reginator himself was tweeting through Nintendo of America's Twitter account, and he's like, yeah, I'd like to see some more Dragon Quest games too. And then the whole community just explodes and, okay, there's some games that we can think of that you could be porting over here right now that you haven't been porting over. Dragon Quest X. I mean, come on. We have all the others. Why is this one so hard?
What makes you think Reggie is actually listening to you?
He's not. He's not, because he's just the Reginator. He's just the spokesperson, the hype machine. The very calm, dull, my body is ready hype machine.
Here to tell you that I'm coming to a location near you to play games with you. It will revolutionize the way you don't want to play games with strangers. And all for the low manufacturer's suggested retail price of Run for Your Life. Okay, I think we got way off asking me how things were in my life. Let's get to the show.
Alright, so we do have a number of things lined up to talk to you guys about today. Here in a little bit, I'm actually going to be talking about a particular topic that perhaps you travelers will be interested in knowing. Airlines are not going to be asking you to put away Game Boys or other electronic devices during takeoff and landing of planes. And there's just going to be a general discussion about that whole topic in general.
I'm going to be talking about the recently released trailer for the newest animated feature from DC entitled Justice League War.
And
together we're going to be talking about... Well, really, it's kind of a day late since we were recording this on the 1st, but we figure some of you still want to talk about zombies a little bit.
Well, I don't think anybody can get enough about talking about zombies. You don't have to restrict it just to Halloween.
Well, fair enough. But basically, we'll be covering a little gathering in front of... You said it was Tokyo Tower, right?
Yeah, not just in front of, but even inside of Tokyo Tower. Somewhat of a zombie walk, specifically as a promotional event for The Walking Dead over in Japan.
And we'll go ahead and parlay a little bit of our information from this past weekend for us, having participated in the San Antonio Zombie Walk.
And that'll be great fun had by all. Until then, I think we have a little bit of a follow-up on some previous topics that's come up recently.
Actually, we had a fairly big follow-up.
It was almost big enough to consider its own news story, but we wanted to talk about new things.
Right, but there's enough information here that we'll go ahead and give it to you guys right now. As a lot of you might have known by now, it was announced about a week ago that, surprise, surprise, nobody really saw this coming entirely, because we did talk about it before, that there was a possibility, a very fair possibility, that Space Dandy would get brought over here, more than likely on the Toonami/Adult Swim block.
Yeah, the anime Space Dandy as created by the creators of Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, Shinichiro Watanabe. Well, lo and behold, that information, that guess was a very educated guess, and that was confirmed last Friday that Toonami will indeed be showing Space Dandy.
But it's not just that they're going to be airing Space Dandy. We're getting the series before Japan is. That's weird.
And admittedly, I owe you a Mountain Dew, because you were talking about whether or not we would get voice casting done ahead of time.
Well, no, because it came up in a news article. It was like, no, there has not been a voice cast for whatever lead character's name is. And I said what appeared to be a very stupid comment at first was, like, what, not even the Japanese voice actor? And you just had this look on your face like I was an idiot. Like, how dare I ask, like, well, no, duh, Japanese voice actor, obviously. Well, clearly, they must be dubbing the English at the same time. In fact, I think that was the argument I made with you when I brought it up, that, like, for example, in the video game industry, with recent Final Fantasies, for example, they dub and write the English adaptation right alongside the Japanese adaptation these days, so that there is very little time in between release period for different regions. And then this just proves that they had to have been doing it, like, exactly alongside the Japanese studios. So
not only that, that tells me this is a big move.
Well,
like,
it means that America means something to them. Like, they knew, like, Cowboy Bebop must have been enough of a thing. They must still be seeing enough money off of us now for them to think that we matter.
Well, not just that, you know, you take into account Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, and now Space Dandy. It is exactly what I called. They saw the trend, they followed the trend, they bought into it. They said, you know what, this thing will probably be huge. Let's go ahead and get it out of the way now. Let's get the rights to the viewings over here and make sure people get it as fast as they possibly can. They're setting themselves up for a new wave of people to be fans of this new show.
Well, I remember being fairly impressed with kind of a long time back when Bandai was releasing DVDs of subtitles only of Gurren Lagann. And I was just impressed with the way the industry was like, well, fan-subbers, you know, they get it out quicker than we can, obviously. But at the very least, we can get out official copies without people having to wait for a dub. So I was kind of impressed, like, man, they shot this out fairly quick, you know? Of course, I actually found tons of grammatical, just not necessarily translation errors, but English errors in those subs all over the place.
Like, where were the QC guys on that?
Yeah, I don't know. They were just like, just shovel this thing out or else nobody's going to watch our official releases. And then the industry has also realized, hey, simulcasting is a thing that people want because they want it immediately. Well, now, you know, we completely beat Japan to the punch. Like, there is zero reason for somebody to go and pirate if you release it before Japan even gets it. Unless, of course, your argument is, the translation's not right, and I don't like the dub. But you figure...
But you think about it, though, the dub is going to be the first thing anybody hears.
Exactly. Japan's not even going to hear their dub first. We're going to hear the English dub first. In fact, I dare say that if they're working so closely in relation, both the Japanese and the English producers are working in close proximity with one another, that the original studio must be saying, here, let us give you direction as to how we want you guys to sound and how we want you guys to perform this.
So you're saying inherently Space Dandy will sound close, these two voice casts will sound closer together if they're working that closely together.
Well, they would either sound very close to one another, or if not exactly the same, I bet you it would be the way the original Japanese studio intended it.
Yes.
We will be hearing what they want us to hear. And it's not a decision made by necessarily the English producers who are just like, well, we bought the rights, now let's just muck it up however we want. No, there is no way, if the release is happening like this, there's no way that's happening. I think anybody complaining about it probably doesn't know Jack. And I guarantee there will be some really, what's the word I'm looking for? Some really ignorant complaints sometime in the future. That's just bound to happen.
Oh yeah, I guarantee we'll get a couple of those.
But no, I'm excited. I think we need to find somebody's house who actually has, television. And we need to, sit and have a viewing.
Yeah, definitely.
On launch day. Well, what's the day that it's airing?
They haven't given an exact date, but they did say at 11:30, I'm assuming Eastern Time, in this coming January.
January, okay.
Yes.
Well, that's not all that far away, to be honest.
Yeah, because now it's November.
That's 2 months, I can count.
Yeah. It'll be here before you know it.
Man, Toonami, you're really, you're proving yourself all over again. I mean, I'm impressed.
I'm proud of you guys.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Man, time's just gonna fly by. Speaking of flying...
You really need to work on your segues, sir.
Look, I'm trying here.
See, maybe you need to stop trying. Maybe that would make it... maybe that would make them better.
It was either that or the Reading Rainbow sound, and I'm not willing to go back to it. And then there you go. Alright, go ahead.
According to Kotaku, and I'm just going to read the article headline right here, flight attendants will soon stop asking you to turn off your Game Boy. That's straight off of Kotaku, of course. To further talk about this, really, we all know that, what does turning on your electronics really do to hurt flight? Really. I'm pretty sure the Mythbusters did something on this.
They did.
I don't recall what their...
To be fair, every time that episode comes on, I always have to leave before the end of the episode, so I don't know offhand.
Dang it, Josh, I can't rely on you for anything. Either way, I mean, come on, really. Flight technology. And my handheld device is supposed to really screw with that. Especially when, up until recent generations, handheld devices couldn't wireless jack squat. I mean, the most that you could do was radio. But even then, I mean, come on. All the same, yeah, there you go. Now, finally, the FAA is going to get rid of asking you to turn off your electronic devices.
Now, is this all electronic devices or electronic gaming devices?
All electronic devices, except you still can't make phone calls during flight. Okay. That's it. Otherwise, yeah, you can, wireless gameplay with one another, and you can do it through all points in flight. You can do it during the taxi, during takeoff, during landing. I mean, so long as your seat is in the upright position, I'm sure, and that you're buckled in, and your tables are up, and, and then...
I'm watching you try not to break into Albuquerque right now. I see it on your face. So strong.
I want to, but, that would not be very professional.
No,
we are a very professional podcast.
We are so professional and junk.
Sitting here in my jeans, slouching.
Right.
on the couch and been eating candy. This has nothing to do with electronic devices
now,
in airplanes.
Admittedly, what this says more about is nowadays the airlines realize that the technology has moved ahead, not just wireless in general, but the necessity for your passengers to be able to access things wirelessly.
Mm-hmm.
And first it started off really with being able to have wireless internet available on planes,
right.
which is a fairly, in the grand scheme of things, recent development in flying. And
in
now
fact, they specifically reference that here, Wi-Fi service during flight. So you can use devices now that connect to Wi-Fi, and you can use short-range Bluetooth accessories for things like wireless keyboards and junk.
Right.
So they've made specific reference to that. I just always thought that it was funny that, I don't know if you necessarily remember, I've done a lot more flying than
admittedly,
you have,
out of the two of us.
but they specifically ask you to put away your Game Boys, still, to this day, right?
Right.
And, I'm sure someone has carried on a Game Boy within recent times, but at the same time, people are carrying around PSPs and 3DSs, and it's like, okay, no one's carrying a Game Boy, and if they did, those things would not have interfered with anybody's anything, ever.
Well, I think it's funny, the brand notoriety of put away your Game Boys, because nobody was bringing a Game Gear onto your plane, because really, what was the point? That thing would be out of battery before you got up to 2,000 feet.
Nobody was bringing on their Nomads. No one was bringing in their Neo Geo Pockets or their Wonder Swan colors.
Well, maybe not here.
Not here. Maybe in Japan. I was bringing on a Wonder Swan color. But that's because I really wanted, some Super Robot Wars. And
I don't fault you for that.
I'm sorry. I do what I have to do for Super Robot Wars.
Fair enough.
Trying to figure out exactly when this is going to take place. That by the end of 2013. It doesn't give an exact date, but that basically says, hey, the lifespan of this no more electronic devices during taxi takeoff and landing is its death is soon coming.
Well, I'm thinking about it too, because in particular with the 3DS, how much are you capable of doing now with a 3DS that you weren't capable of before?
Well, for example, being able to connect to the internet and perform basic internet functions. So, say you wanted to play Pokemon, usually up until recent generations, you could really only do local trades. For a long time, early generations, you connected a link cable, and then it became exchanging wirelessly locally, and then it became a global thing where you could do it Wi-Fi. So now if your plane has Wi-Fi, you can start doing Poke Battles anywhere you want from your plane.
But see, as much as I do appreciate and praise the nerdy applications of it, unfortunately I have to bring it into the real world with stuff that actually happened just today with what people will be finding out about with the shooting over at LAX. You think about it, the people there, we had two people from Mythbusters there, Tori and Grant, and they were some of the first people reporting on the story because they were there and they had their phones and they were taking pictures and tweeting. If something goes down at an airport, how many other people armed with 2DSs and 3DSs with 3D capability can take pictures and post to the internet, giving that much more information on something were it to go down? This is actually a very good thing. It's almost more safe to have this now.
Almost, yeah. I'm sure that somebody out there could then say, oh, well, if we know where these planes are at all times because people are talking to people elsewhere all the time, then it could be used for terrorist purposes, blah, blah, blah. Shut up. I'm sure any tool of any variety could be used for either good or evil when put into the wrong hands. Let's just get that out of the way right now.
I'm just saying it would be freaking cool. Hey, we caught somebody. How'd you catch him? Well, I had my 3DS out and I was trying to clear all the people at my gate, and then I saw this guy, and then I took his picture
in 3D.
In 3D. That way, you knew what he looked like. Congratulations, sir. You won 3DSs.
Well, I mean, you could have been taking photos with your 3DS for a while now. You just couldn't have been, sharing it on the internet from your plane
Right.
up until whenever this goes into effect.
I'm thinking the application is positive no matter how you look at it.
That's true.
Because in the extreme level, yeah, you could potentially provide valuable information. On the smaller end, I can whoop you with my Mega Evolved Charizard, whose name escapes me at the moment because I don't actually have a Mega Evolved Charizard yet, but I'm working on it.
You're trying.
I'm trying.
I give you an A for effort because you're not typically a Poke dude.
Admittedly not.
So, guys go easy on him. All right.
Yes, admittedly I am not.
You're
I am not trying.
Master?
I am not trying to be the best like no one ever was. I'm
very best. See, you can't even get that right.
See, I can't even do that right.
I think I'm basically done. So, congratulations, you electronic nerds out there. You win the plane ride. You can now use your Game Boys after 20 years. You can finally use your Game Boys during taxi and landing. Congratulations. Long battle, I know. But start bringing out Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green. Or no, Red, Blue, and Yellow. Excuse me.
Silver. Any other versions you have.
No, I'm specifically going back to Game Boy.
Oh, okay. You're bringing
Game Boy.
You're gonna bring bricks out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because all they ever ask you to put away is your Game Boy. They didn't say anything about your 3DS.
They didn't say anything about my Game Boy Advance.
Usually not your game. Well, you might want to be careful with that. It has the name Game Boy in it.
Oh, okay. What about my PSP?
They don't know what that is.
Okay, great.
They don't know that Sony makes handhelds. They have no idea.
It's okay. Sony doesn't know Sony makes handhelds.
High five.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that was a good one. Okay. Can I move on?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna move on.
Okay.
Okay, so just earlier this week, DC Entertainment released their trailer for Justice League War, their next direct-to-video animated feature.
What is that?
Well, Justice League War is actually based off the New 52 retelling of the Justice League origin story. How Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, Cyborg, and insert extra hero here came to become a team.
Uh-huh.
And it's the story of them facing off against Darkseid, him trying to take over the world, basically Cyborg's origin story. Basically a new way of introducing these characters, which is what the New 52 was meant to be. A breathing of fresh life into this franchise, into these different franchises.
Mm-hmm.
And we just got the trailer this week. You can go anywhere, YouTube, look it up. It looks animation-wise to be just on the same level as all the other DC animated movies. Thankfully, I just got the chance to watch the most recent one before this, the Flashpoint Paradox. That was a great movie. I was very happy with the casting, very happy with the art direction, the storytelling. Just, once again, proving DC has got it down as far as these animated movies go. And as far as this movie goes, it should be a no-brainer. Yeah, it's all the Justice League together. It's an origin story.
I'm not so thrilled with who'd they replace Aquaman with? Shazam?
Well, see, that is one of the major changes that they've made here, and they've made a few. Those familiar with the comic, which is available now, you can get it at your local, Barnes and Nobles. Check up on it. The major change that they've made to the roster is that in the initial comic book, Aquaman is the last member to join up with the Justice League. Here they've switched him out for Shazam or Captain Marvel, but here they're calling him Shazam officially, like that's his name now.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes a lot away from Aquaman, because they managed to legitimize Aquaman in this Justice League story. I don't talk to fish, he says, I command them. He's very much got an arrogance about him that you'd expect more from, like, Namor and Marvel.
Right.
But it worked. They prove he's strong, they prove he's tactical, they prove he's useful, which is something that most people don't see in Aquaman.
Well, admittedly, yeah, in reading that copy of the book that you had purchased before, and I read it off of you, I was like, psh, Aquaman. ha! And then I was like, oh, well, shut my mouth. I mean, I think I think perhaps I understand why they replaced Aquaman, only because people might get that initial impression of like, oh, it has Aquaman. Excuse me while I shy away from this. Not realizing that he could have been portrayed quite well.
Now, admittedly, to juxtapose that in the Flashpoint Paradox, Aquaman is portrayed as very strong, very regal, even, played by, surprisingly, by Carrie Hughes, who most people know from The Princess Bride.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even realize that was him until I checked the credits. I'm like, oh, snap, that was Aquaman? Really?
Okay.
That was surprising. But now, another reason why they would have kept Aquaman out is because apparently DC, after this movie, is already working on giving him his own animated solo feature. So they might be gearing him up specifically for that. So that I understand more so. But I don't think it was necessarily the best idea to shy him away on this story when he was very much an integral part of, you know, taking down Darkseid.
Right.
And even more so, it's also this idea of, why do we need Shazam?
Right.
Because when you really think about it, who really likes Captain Marvel? Who really likes Shazam?
I don't.
Like, remember when they were announcing Injustice and they were announcing the roster for that? You see, okay, and we're including Shazam! So?
Somebody listening will be like, hey, I like Shazam!
Well, good for you.
Yeah, it's not really my thing.
I would sooner have Aquaman than I would have Shazam. Because really, it's that whole thing of you're sticking a kid in the movie.
Exactly, yeah, and I don't like that.
Now, on top of that, you know, this seems, again, a no-brainer. People are going to go out and buy this, watch this, no matter what. The iffy thing about it, and it's the thing I always praise most DC movies for, animated movies, I should say, is their strong voice casts. You know, they've gotten some A-list actors in these roles, you know, people from, any number of shows. You've got your dream team of cast.
Right.
Of, you know, Tim Daly as Superman, Kevin Conroy as Batman, Susan Eisenberg as Wonder Woman, because everybody remembers her from the animated series. And then, you know, we get Hal Jordan as he should be here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as far as most other DC movies go, specifically I'm thinking of, why can't I remember the name offhand? It was the one right before this one. Doom, Justice League Doom. And, you know, that was a pretty solid voice cast. Those were the guys you imagine in those voices, because you've watched the cartoon for long enough, you hear those voices in your head after a while.
Right.
And here they're changing it up a bit, because the guys they've got playing, you know, the Justice League aren't exactly the guys you're used to. Like, for starters, we've got Alan Tudyk playing Superman, who, again, most people would know from Firefly, or even as a King Candy from Wreck-It Ralph.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not exactly the first guy I think of when I think Superman.
Well, to me, I just don't watch enough DC, so I don't think of anybody in any particular role for anybody, except for when it comes to Batman, and now that everyone's kind of shying away from the old traditional voice roles in Batman, I just don't have any sort of reference as to who I should be hearing in these voice roles. I think you probably would just know it better than I would.
It's just, you know, there's certain voices you have in mind when you think of this stuff. Like, Nathan Fillion as Hal Jordan is inspired. Like, he is Hal Jordan.
Uh-huh.
But here we're getting, who is this guy? Justin Kirk. You know, some guy from Weeds. And I hear the voice in the trailer, and it's just a voice. In fact, that's how I feel about most of the voices in this trailer. They're just voices.
Well, quite frankly, all the audio mixing in that trailer is not particularly good.
Well, yeah, admittedly, for some reason, in most copies of the trailer that are out there right now, the audio mixing is such that the music is really drowning out the voices. And then what you can hear of the voices, they don't sound that confident. They don't sound that committed to their roles.
I don't know, I just, I haven't seen enough of their conversations in context to really make that judgment call.
And then, and this is really nitpicky, but some people will know what I'm talking about here. Darkseid, like for me, you know, going back to, you know, you hear certain voices in your head. Michael Ironside as Darkseid, who, you know, played the role in the Superman animated series, in Justice League Unlimited. That's the voice I hear in my head when I think Darkseid.
Uh-huh.
Even Andre Braugher in Superman Batman Doomsday, that was a fairly decent, you know, rendition of the voice. Here, we got Steve Blum as Darkseid.
And what, to you, it's just, hi, Steve Blum?
Yeah, hi, Spike. Hi, Mugen. Hi, Cosmo. Like, he can't not sound like himself. You know, he's just got that kind of voice.
He's just too identifiable?
Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. He's just too identifiable.
I suppose that's true.
Like, how am I supposed to take Roger Smith seriously when he's trying to blow up Superman? It's a little hard. Especially in, what was it, the last Arkham game, Arkham City, when you hear him as both a thug and somebody getting beat up on the street, and it's like, you're beating yourself up, dude. Like, you're talking to yourself.
Well, that and every other thug was him, and every other person getting beat up on the street was him. So
it was either him or Crispin Freeman. It was really those two guys in the streets of Gotham. It's like, I'm saving the same guy every 5 minutes. Or the same guy's trying to beat me up.
And well, it didn't help that they were also all dressed the same, too.
I know, and you couldn't tell them apart after a while. Like, okay, I've been flying around on my glide cape for a while. I think I've gone around a corner. Oh, nope, there he is again. Alright, max combo.
Max combo?
Now, the thing about it that... I understand that, you know, they want to lay the groundwork for this current storytelling with the New 52. You know, the Flashpoint Paradox leads right into, you know, where DC Comics started off this whole New 52 thing. And more to the point, they try to put out movies that go along with the films that they have coming out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they put out The Dark Knight Returns alongside The Dark Knight Rises. You know, they put out a Superman animated movie alongside, you know, Man of Steel.
Right.
Or, you know, that you see them start to push those DVDs more and, like, Target or Walmart, things like that. And the thing I keep going back to is, well, they keep talking about, well, are they going to do the live-action Justice League? And originally, when we both read this comic, because we read it the same weekend, I bought it and then I read it and then you read it.
Right.
That story was very easily, look, all you have to do is basically copy-paste this story with actors, and you've got your Justice League movie. You don't even have to think about it that hard. I would be willing to believe that they're choosing now to put this out there. That way the idea is present in people's minds. That way when they actually do the live-action Justice League
before they do
movie,
a Justice League movie for legit.
You know, they test the waters with this. Because, you know, the comics
you
where it's
really
got to start.
think this is... that they're counting on this to prep people for the Justice League movie? Because I almost don't necessarily think they would care, because a Justice League movie is more created with mass public who doesn't know any better in mind, you know?
Yeah,
that's what I would assume, anyway.
But at the same time, if I follow my logic on this, who's going to watch this movie primarily? Two groups of people. Nerds and kids.
Okay.
Nerds and kids. Nerds show other nerds. Kids force their parents and siblings to watch. That's satirization right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get it out into the public knowledge. It's not so much the people you identify as your target audience, it's those other people who you don't count on to buy it, who end up passing by like, oh, what's this? Alright, I'll sit down for a few minutes. And then with most DC films, it's like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool, alright. And then it gets into your mind like, okay, I'm familiar with The Flash, I'm familiar with Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, not necessarily just Batman and Superman, and that's how you lay the groundwork.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So from there, you can set it up to where people are more familiar with these characters. Now, the conceit that this story makes, and it's not too much of a spoiler really, is that most of these characters have been doing what they're doing for a fairly short amount of time. They set it up kind of similarly, which is why I bring it up, similarly to how they're doing it in Batman vs. Superman. Batman has managed to keep himself out of the limelight very much make himself a modern legend, a shadow. People don't really know if he exists at all. Mm-hmm. And this is exactly how they say they're going to play it.
And people actually might not know whether or not he's an actual dude, or if he actually is a superhero with superpowers.
Exactly. So I see that parallel, though, there. If they're going to play him as such, or if they did play him as such here in the comic, and now here in the animated movie, if they're also playing him like that in the live-action movie, it stands to reason that the other characterizations will follow suit. Now, along those lines, Wonder Woman here has already introduced herself to the new world, to our world, so to speak. That part they can't necessarily get away with in a movie because we still haven't seen Wonder Woman on film yet. Mm-hmm. So that's one conceit you have to get out of the way. You would have to introduce Wonder Woman on film.
So are you suggesting that they will, in fact, make a Wonder Woman movie, finally?
They have to, pretty much. There's been talk that they would shoehorn her somewhere into this Batman vs. Superman movie, and personally I don't think that's a good idea. She needs to stand on her own. She can stand on her own, and these animated movies actually proved it. I've said that before, and I'll keep saying that again. That was a great movie.
That particular Wonder Woman movie?
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree. In fact, I don't think it necessarily gave quite the same characterization as this particular comic that this new movie is building off of. It's not really the same characterization, though, and I'm not sure how I feel about that particular Wonder Woman. And actually, it doesn't necessarily look like she's speaking all in godly speak in this trailer, like she is in the comic that it's sourced from.
Right.
So, is that perhaps to suggest that, aside from her change in costume, they've also changed at least her speech pattern, if not her personality? I can't really tell if her personality is any different. This trailer doesn't tell me that much.
Admittedly, you're right about that. They don't show that much. But here's something I'll say as much, too. Wonder Woman already has her work cut out for her live-action-wise. On the small screen, on these direct-to-video movies, she's fine. Most of the mass public, doesn't know about it, but the fans that are watching say, yeah, that's Wonder Woman, that's fine. As far as the movies go, the live action, she's got her work cut out for her because that characterization of person speaking with an odd dialect coming from another world into ours, Thor's kind of got the market cornered on that.
So you're saying that nobody in DC land is allowed to do that?
Well, no, it's pretty much that whole, Thor did it first!
Well, I don't care.
But it's also the question
don't care, but...
It's that question of Thor did it first, but did Thor do it better? That's what stands to be challenged, stands to be seen. As far as these other characters go, I'll try and keep it brief. Green Lantern, we already had that live-action movie. He's best done justice here in these animated movies. As far as this movie goes, he's still that brash Hal Jordan, which is fine, but really I equate brash to, say, one of the other Lanterns, like Guy Gardner, Kyle Rayner, things like that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Hal should be, more sturdy, I think. And of course here, he's young, so, you make that conceit. Mm-hmm. As far as live action goes, it could go either way. You can either say the Hal Jordan you gave us with Ryan Reynolds had a change of heart and finally got his act together.
Oh, please.
And a real costume. Or you can scrap that and go ahead and say, you know what, let's bring in another Lantern. Let's bring in Jon Stewart.
I would sooner say, can we please just forget that Hal Jordan ever existed? That movie Ryan Reynolds Hal Jordan
I was
ever
listening
existed.
to Kevin Smith talk about it, and he agreed you could still say that movie happened, but still say that time has passed and say, yeah, the Green Lanterns exist, and he was the first guy, but now we got this other guy, Jon Stewart.
I'd really rather we didn't.
you would just want to wipe the slate clean.
Can we please? I mean, really. We were able to do that with Hulk. Can we please do that with Green Lantern?
Fair enough. You're right about that. We did that with Hulk.
Please, I'm not interested in that being the same.
Now, I'm just going to put this out there and, agree or disagree.
No. Okay, what?
As far as, casting goes, they did it right with Justice League, the animated series, introducing Jon Stewart, for diversity.
Uh-huh.
Live action version, keep it Jon Stewart. but I think the guy to play Jon Stewart should be Idris Elba. You know, most people would know him from Pacific Rim as Stacker Pentecost. You know, the very imposing, you know, commander of all the Jaeger pilots. That man.
You think?
Oh, yes, absolutely. He's got the stature, he's got the voice, he's got the presence of a hero.
I suppose it could be put that way. I mean, within that movie, and, like, I just don't know movies nearly as well, and I just don't know actors nearly as well. That's not my forte. So I don't really know what else he's in. I have likely seen something else that he has been in, and I completely don't know it. So to me, the last thing I know of him being Pacific Rim, he just seems very militaristic.
Well, it's so much more than that. And I can say that because, you know, the difference between the two of us, I've seen a lot more of his work.
Uh-huh.
And this man can act.
Oh, I trust you.
Now, as far as that goes, you know, I am getting too far away from the animated movie. So, you know, it remains to be seen. This will be coming out next spring. Or actually, no, I believe in January it should be coming out. So, you know, more than likely I'll be picking it up.
Well, when is the, they are working on a Justice League movie, aren't they?
They say that they're still trying to work out the kinks on how they'll actually get that off the ground. The furthest confirmation we've got of anything is partial filming for Batman vs. Superman. That's all they're saying right now. As far as anybody else goes, nobody's talking about another Green Lantern movie.
Uh-huh.
They keep talking about whether or not they're going to do a Flash movie, but there is the introduction of the Flash on Arrow in a few weeks. They're still talking about the Wonder Woman pilot on CW. And that's it. Nobody's talked about Cyborg, Aquaman, any of the other characters.
Well, Cyborg is, as of late, kept his presence fairly decently throughout all of these iterations of Teen Titans, and Teen Titans has been on TV in different forms for quite some time now. So
people are familiar with Cyborg, and really with this story with Justice League Origin, they managed to make him not just a Teen Titan, but a member of the Justice League. You know, he got to play with the big boys, you know? And very much he's kind of the Gary Stu of the story, since his powers are directly related to how they stop Darkseid.
Uh-huh.
You know, I don't want to give too much away, but you read the story, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And actually, that's something I wouldn't necessarily want to see in a live-action movie, is that they stick with that. That, oh, I'm special now. Guess what? I can stop everything. You guys didn't have to fight so much. Like, that kind of detracts away from the heroism of the other characters, you know?
I think that's true.
Because these people should be allowed to be on that same...
They need to need each other for different reasons.
Yes. You know, they need to fulfill certain roles. Superman needs to be the outright leader, just like Captain America. Batman needs to be the tactician. You know, saying, you go here, you go here, you go here. Wonder Woman can be power forward. Green Lantern provides support from the rear because he's got his constructs. And then you've got the Flash for quick strikes. And then with specialization, you've got Flash and whoever else is there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Cyborg, Shazam, what have you. And that's really actually what I liked about the original Justice League cartoon. Was that's how they played it in the origin episode there. Was everybody figured out, hey, we've got these roles. Let's stop fighting each other. I mean, bickering. I'm more like, and let's get to work.
Well, honestly, you can understand this origin story pretty well when all of these characters have only just heard of one another in passing, perhaps. And so they're all very wary of one another.
Well, very much that is the case in the story. Really, the only two who know each other are Green Lantern and Flash. Everybody else, yes, has only heard of each other.
Right.
They've heard of Superman. Batman's just a rumor. Oh, Wonder Woman's that weird chick over there in the... Well, not loincloth, but in the tiara with the rope. And then nobody had even heard of Aquaman until he pops out of the ocean.
Oh god, this guy controls dolphins. What is this dude's problem?
Yeah, exactly. And it'll work, I think, live action. But I think it stands to reason that this will be a good way of testing people to see if they're ready for it with this animated movie.
I guess that's true. Again, I really don't feel as though enough of the public pays all that much attention to the DC animated universe, though. Nerds, yes, like, perhaps only so much more than comic readers.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's just not that much more elevated. Like, I think this would need to be on TV before...
I agree.
Before it got that much attention. Have any of the previous animated movies made any sort of television
not
debut?
Really, no.
Not on,
just
like
a
Evening
few
Cartoon Network or anything?
The only one I know of offhand was Justice League: The New Frontier. That one they showed on a Saturday night on Cartoon Network. But that was the only one, though. Like, I think they should get a chance to watch all the other ones. You know, like, Superman vs. the Elite, Batman Under the Red Hood, all these other ones. They should have a chance to have the public know about them more. Because they're good, for the most part, most of them are good movies.
I would agree. I think, yeah, there should be some sort of a Cartoon Network exclusive sort of network premiere of this movie this weekend and this movie this next weekend to generate some further hype, because otherwise, like, are there even advertisements for these on TV? I see advertisements for them on YouTube.
But not nearly as much.
YouTube bumpers, sure, but
yeah,
different.
Well, either way, we'll see when it comes out. So yeah, next quarter, Justice League War, be on the lookout for it. Okay, so moving on to our last topic, which is, you know what, like you said, you know, it's never a bad time to talk about zombies.
No, you're always terrified of zombie apocalypse. Who's not? Who's so scared?
I'm not. I look forward to the zombie apocalypse. What? If only for the chance to shoot things.
Yeah, but those things were people once.
Not anymore.
Yeah, but I'll miss people.
Well, I'm not gonna miss.
You're a horrible human being, Josh.
No, I am a human being. That's the difference. I'm not a zombie.
In any case, there was, in fact, a zombie march on Tokyo Tower. When was this exactly? This is an article from Kotaku, again, that we are pulling this from. It was on Halloween, actually. There were approximately 1,000 people dressed as zombies. So this looks big and crowded, but it's actually, I don't think it's as crowded as, say, our zombie walks that we've been doing for a while.
Well, no, and we'll get to that in a second. Really, this was to promote the current season of The Walking Dead over on AMC.
Apparently, it's kind of a big deal over there, too, which...
Who knew?
I guess I can understand. I mean, who's not obsessed with zombies? Capcom, for example, is quite obsessed with zombies. I mean, you take Resident Evil, House of the Dead, or...
More Resident
Evil, or Yakuza of the Dead, whatever it was they called that in English. Was it Yakuza of the Dead? I don't remember. It was the Yakuza game where they decided to put zombies in it. That's all I have to say.
Okay. But, yes, you see all of these people, and they're
Actually, House of the Dead is not Capcom. But it is a Japanese game.
Yes.
I just wanted to make that clear, that Japan has no shortage of their own zombies. Like, they like them. I'm just saying.
Yes. Now, the thing is, these zombies look very, shall we say, convincing. You know, they're all in very similar makeup. You know, a lot of them seem to have the whiteout contacts.
They got the shamblings going on, that's for sure.
They're organized.
See, that makes them quite a bit different from our zombies. Because our dudes just sort of showed up and they were like, hey, we're in makeup. Alright, let's go for a walk.
We'll go ahead and tell you guys how this went this past weekend here at our Zombie Walk, just to kind of juxtapose, you know, this organization here in Japan versus down here in South Texas. So, really it should be put out there ahead of time that this year they tried to make things a little bigger for the San Antonio Zombie Walk. They were trying to beat the Guinness record for most zombies in a gathering. So they were trying to get people to, you know, sign up online and, you know, participate in this thing. And the official record is 9,592 zombies. Unfortunately, they came in a little short of that at 8,116.
That's fairly impressive for the first time they were trying to bust up the record, though. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that's not so bad.
Now, to be fair, not everybody who was down there was a zombie this year. There were a lot of spectators. just kind of surrounding the areas. Previous years it was a zombie walk. This year it felt more like a zombie festival.
Yeah, it really didn't quite have the same feeling as it's had the last couple of years. Now, actually, I would also highly say that it seems more like, because this was the first year that they ever tried to make this, to break this record, I would highly believe that not everybody went and registered the tickets properly to get counted.
Yes, because there were definitely at least...
I believe it was undercounted, and that they probably did break the record, but they could not, like, legitimately say, you guys won, because not everybody ticketed up.
Now, admittedly, we did not go as zombies.
No, we're never going to go as zombies.
No, I'm saying that right now. I will never, as much as I can help it, show up to that zombie walk as a zombie. I have too much fun as a survivor.
No, Survivor is way more fun because, you know, you get everybody's participation. That's just... You join up with other fewer survivors who feel like, you know, they've got some camaraderie with you.
Yeah.
And we all just want to shoot things.
Like,
and there's lots of targets to do it.
Yes. And the thing about it, you know... We're not just going around, you know, being jerks willy-nilly to people. No, we've made sure to keep it safe. We've got, you know, dollar store guns, you know, brightly painted that light up and make noise. That way people
A lot of other people use pretty realistic-looking guns.
No, a lot of people use airsoft, and that kind of scares me.
Like, I'm kind of shocked that, you know, they walk right past these cops who have blocked off the street, and they police the crosswalk traffic back and forth, and they watch us. They, like, see us holding these guns, and they're just like... Oh, there they go. Okay. Like, something could legitimately happen, and they wouldn't be all that prepared. Like,
I don't really want to think about that. But
everyone's been pretty good. So.
Everyone's been fairly good about it, but we try to play it safe, but at the same time, we still have fun.
Yeah. Because
the fun part about it is kind of goading on these other zombies walking around, you know, having to run through the streets while... Basically, it was kind of like a parade route this year.
Well, it's always kind of like a parade route.
But more so this year, though.
It always goes from the Tower of the Americas downtown...
to Hemisphere Plaza.
A couple of blocks down to... Well, from Hemisphere Plaza...
Right.
Where the Tower of the Americas is...
Yes.
Down a few blocks to the Alamo, where everybody... then congregates and then mostly takes their photos there.
Really, it's about a mile walk.
Yeah. And really, again, it's like, they don't really shamble unless they feel like they have a reason to shamble. Otherwise, they're just kind of walking around in zombie makeup. That's why it's good that we show up there, because they, like, the zombies have a reason to act like zombies.
Right.
Then we get them lunging at us, and especially now, I did notice the difference with these guns as opposed to guns we've used in the past that didn't really make noise and didn't really light up. They feel like they've been shot, and they actually do go down.
Yeah, we had a couple of people really playing along with that, and, you know, kudos to them. Because, especially that one kid...
I was about to bring up the kid.
Like, this kid couldn't be more than, like, 6, 7, somewhere around there. And he was running at full speed towards us, and our, who was it? Our Ellis spotted him over my shoulder. I didn't see him. He was almost on me. Ellis, quote-unquote, shoots him, and this kid took a headshot and went down baseball slide.
Oh, yeah, he was sliding across the ground through these leaves, like... But then he would get back up after we walked away a few steps, and he'd run at us again, and he'd still get shot, and he'd still baseball slide down, and just to do it again. He chased us a pretty good distance.
And that was fun.
That was a fun kid. I like that kid.
Now, admittedly, the difference between the zombies here and the zombies over in Japan, you know, the Japanese zombies there in this article were very uniform. You know, they all looked more or less like the zombies that you see on The Walking Dead. Here, though, in San Antonio, they kind of have a tendency to go with different themes and different kind of zombies. Like, we saw a Dead Mouse zombie walking around.
Yeah.
And, you know, Mickey Mouse zombie.
Well, it also
Fred Flintstone zombie.
It didn't help that same day, like, just a couple hours before, just next door had ended the brand new Alamo City Comic Con.
Right.
And so, thus, out came cosplayers.
Yes.
Who then kind of threw on some zombie makeup on top of their costume.
And got a little bloodied up, and then there you go. But then you see some people who are actually trying, like, two that I think of that were really stand out were, in particular, two girls who went as Zombie Lucy and Zombie Ethel from I Love Lucy. And they put a lot of work into their costumes. And then this other group of people who went as zombies that died on a Six Flags roller coaster.
Those guys were my favorite, I'm telling you. I loved those guys. Because, well, let's face it, some people die on roller coasters.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but these guys, like, made...
And these guys, like, they had their hands in the air like they were still enjoying the ride.
But they were going,
They're like, roller coaster, I like those guys. They were my favorite. Like, they were wearing a...
roller coaster seat.
A roller coaster, not cart, and not train, because train would be the whole... Yeah, like, just the one carriage.
Yeah.
And so, like, their lower bodies were walking around in this box, but they had created this carriage with extra fake legs sitting there.
Yes.
And their upper torso was really them throwing their arms up in the air.
Yeah, but it was very creative. I like that, at least that much, that the creativity gets brought out in people for this event. And then later on during the night, when the actual walk starts, you know, around like 7-ish, when it gets dark, you know, you've got these people flooding the streets of downtown San Antonio. We met up with a couple of the Walking Dead survivors down there.
Right.
I think it was Daryl and a couple of other people. And what they would do is they would have to let some cars through the traffic, so that you'd have the stoplight, and then you've got zombies on one side, and then you've got the zombies who've already crossed to the other side. But we managed to be right there at the crosswalk. You know, the Left 4 Dead guys meet up with the Walking Dead guys, and they were like, "Hold the line! Hold the line!" And everybody's there like, "Reloading!"
And there'd be this nice gap of time, like, oh my god, they're coming! There's more of them! Alright, get ready! Ah! And there's just this camaraderie.
And then, you know, the traffic cops would let the zombies start walking over, and sure enough, we start, you know, fake mowing them down, and you see these people playing along, you know, people getting wounded in the shoulder, headshots. We actually had,
and
luckily...
then people turn around and come over and, like, grab at my shoulder and start to actively try and take bites out of me. And
I actually got a bite taken out of my leg from a guy I thought I took down.
Some people don't know where stop is.
Like, let me make this clear. Somebody put their teeth on my leg.
Yeah, that happened. That happened to us 2 years ago,
Yeah, 2 years ago when we first did it, that was freaking scary, because we got more bites than that, and from kids.
I also got dogpiled by children who didn't know
that
when
was
to stop
scary.
either. Yeah, I thought I was, like, literally going to die, because I couldn't breathe and I couldn't get them off me.
The funniest part, was it you or Ellis who got a hunter on them? Like, they were...
Oh, it was Ellis, Greg.
Yeah.
Because I spotted the hunter, and I was screaming, "Hunter got Ellis!" And, like, there weren't all that many...
Left 4 Dead
infected this year.
Yeah.
But I guess Left 4 Dead has been out enough years for it to have kind of died down.
Hey, Valve, where's Left 4 Dead 3? Just saying.
Well, they're thinking about it.
Just saying.
Supposedly. I guess that having been said, there's quite a difference between Japanese kind of zombie shamblings and ours, especially because this one was specifically organized by Walking Dead and Fox and what have you.
Fox? You mean AMC?
Well, this says Fox right here on their banner.
Huh. I guess they must show it on a different network there.
That's what I'm assuming.
Oh, well.
I see that the Tokyo Tower mascots themselves also sort of got into the shamblings too, and that's kind of cute. That having been said, I think we better wrap this up because we technically only have like 1 minute left to go.
Okay, so then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
We thank you guys for coming in out to YouTube and listening to us once again. We don't know why you do it, but we thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll come back to you guys again next week. As always, we're represented these days by the Southwest Animation and Gaming Expo. Go to swagexpo.com, learn more, go get a badge. We've got some new guests coming up. I'm really excited to talk to you about, but I can't tell you right now.
But in the meantime, you can follow us on our individual Twitters. I'm at Josh Knight First.
And I'm at MarsGirlProd.
And until next week, this has been Beyond the Black Rims.
We'll see you next week. Bye, guys.